All right, so hi everybody. I am Karen. Thank you very much for coming to our webinar about AI in government affairs. The kind of the goal of this is to discuss ideas and make some suggestions for how you might use AI, demo a couple of things and kind of start your thinking. But also we're wanting to do some of these surveys. I've got one up now and very much invite discussion so that you can see where you're at with how what you're thinking versus what other people are thinking. So hopefully the surveys will let you understand kind of where you fit into how everybody is using AI already or not, and your hopes and fears for it. And so that's kind of the point of this is not the discussion, and we'll have some examples and some suggestions, but also just so you can get a feeling for how your colleagues are working with AI. So please do take all the surveys and please do ask us questions as we go along and make some points, and I will pause at different spots during the webinar. And we very much invite you to use the chat and meet each other and talk to each other and discuss. And Stephen will be watching the chat and forwarding asking us any questions that need to be asked. And if you would like to ask a question, we can unmute you and let you do that. So again, put that in the chat and Stephen will catch that. And we will do that. So we're happy to let you speak as well and share your thoughts and emotions about the whole AI situation. All right, so I am going to go ahead and I know that I just like to get started right on time. So I'm going to go ahead and close this poll and then we will move into our presentation. So thank you for those of you who took the poll. So I'm going to end it and I'm going to share the results. So this is what everybody is doing right now. So it sounds like everybody is using it to help them track, which is no surprise. That's a good use. Lots of you trust the summaries, but not everybody. We not so much with predicting if a bill will pass, but still a healthy number of people. Helping with analysis and writing, which is a classic use so far of your basic chat GPT situation. Grassroots action, more writing, supporting research, of course, and other uses. So happy to hear you share what those other uses might be as we get going. But let me go ahead and start our slideshow. And here we go. All right, so hopefully that came up for everybody. So again, welcome to our artificial intelligence tools for government affairs. All right, so the panelists today, besides Stephen, who is our wrangler, and what's your title, Stephen? What do you do?
It's sort of did a bit of everything really. Manage data, customer service, that kind of stuff.
Very good. So he's with BillTrack 50. I likewise with BillTrack 50. And as you know, I'm the founder and very excited to welcome you here to talk with us today. We also have some Michaels on our panel. So let's start with Michael O'Brien. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Michael O'Brien. I've got dual roles. I work both with Karen as business development and product development for BillTrack 50. And in addition, I do state legislative and regulatory lobbying on behalf of clients for mob advocacy.
All right. And Michael, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Michael Siegel. This is my 30th year now of running a state legislative information service. It's in Massachusetts. The company is InstaTrac. The legislative service for Massachusetts is called MassTrac. And we've been doing some artificial intelligence work for a couple of years, which I'll show you in a few minutes.
And over 30 years, you've probably seen some fads come and go.
I have.
All right, we'll ask you later if you think this is just a fad.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so we've organized today's discussion into three parts: the past, the present, and the future. So we're going to look back a little bit and talk about how this all got started and sort of the first hints of AI that we saw in the industry. And then we'll talk about all the things that we're seeing starting to be developed right now. And then we will discuss the direction that we think things might be going and give you some heads up on some trends that you might want to be aware of. So Michael, what do you see as what was the first hint of AI that you saw or machine learning that you saw in the government affairs arena?
Yeah, so a few things. Definitely around 10 years ago, Fiscal Note came onto people's computer screens with a tool that they claim could tell if a bill could pass. And as a lobbyist, that was definitely interesting to me. I think it was the first time that a lot of us in the government relations industry thought about AI and how is this going to change the way that we work for better or for worse. Around that same time, there was a presentation at NGA for a lot of their corporate fellows, which means government relations folks. Amy Webb, a noted futurist, talked about how AI was going to change the way that we work, how machine learning and different tools were going to take those easy menial tasks, those repetitive tasks, and move those off the plate, and those that could adjust and find the big value add chunks of our work, we're really going to be able to add value to our clients and customers.
Right. So that was kind of the starting gun, right?
To me, it was definitely eye opening. I think a little bit after that, NGA had Elon Musk talk to the governors and everybody, and he said something scary. He was asked, what should governors and Congress regulate more? And this was early on. This was way before Chat GPT, and he said AI was definitely the thing that kept him up and scared him the most. And so I think that took a lot of people that opened a lot of people's eyes, not only to the good side of AI, but to the potential harm of AI.
That's very interesting. All right. So fast forward to the present, and you'll find that most of us tracking companies, such as me and Michael, have AI tools that we have started to integrate, either AI generated content or AI, whatever, just incorporated AI in our tools. And so, it's being used kind of across the industry, of course. And so it's definitely being used in bill drafting, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I've got some examples to discuss. Obviously, reading and analyzing bills, and it sounded like from our survey that several of you were using tools in that way. Making sure you aren't missing bills, so tracking support, and you all said that was something that you were using, hopefully successfully. Obviously, understanding context and trends. So those are the basic ideas that I think a lot of our tools are doing and that everybody has access to. Obviously, I'm not helping with bill drafting, but you get the idea. So from there, what else can AI do for us? Well, obviously, summarizing bills is something that the large language models are that's what they're built for. But also, you can use AI to identify similar bills, and we'll look at some examples of that and suggesting bills. And so you would hope that Amazon, if you've got these 5 bills, you'd like it to say, if you like these bills, you're going to love this bill, and suggest bills to you. And that was sort of something I think we were all hoping for from the get-go, as soon as we sort of understood what could happen. Helping identify impact, and then just writing support. So helping you, fashion your arguments and write all your stuff. So this is all about bill tracking, because that's sort of my focus. But there's more that the government affairs work encompasses, and that's going to include advocacy. And I was skipping ahead too quick. So Michael, thoughts on what AI can do for us in our jobs? Whoever starts first.
I love the summarized bills piece. I read a lot of legislation, and so having something, for years and years, I was the first swipe, and so now it's nice to have a tool that does that first swipe before it gets to me. So I definitely love that. Identifying similar bills, more and more, both on our side, but I know BillTrack 50 customers, will say, hey, I found this bill, I want to know where it's happening in other states. To be able to quickly identify key language in that legislation. So I could do a keyword and find all of the pieces, but to find a little bit more context and really figure out, hey, what are the actual similar bills was really helpful to me and that customer. I would love for more states to do bill drafting, because I would say 10% of the bills I read are, hey, we need to fix all of the changes that we missed when we changed this legislation the last time. So that's a good deal of legislation that could be fixed, could be reduced by some better bill drafting.
Very good. I would love for you guys to put in the chat like any thoughts you have for what AI has done for you, or even like the first time you became aware that AI was entering our arena.
Or maybe we should have another poll.
Oh, we could do another poll.
While you're pulling that up, we do have a comment in chat from Martha saying, in particular, what are the thoughts on using AI to compare similar bills and actually multiple versions within a bill? Is that a use that people are doing?
Michael, you want to field that while I try to figure out how I launch a poll now?
Well, let me do the Michael Siegel version.
Nice.
Nice.
All right. There's artificial intelligence, and there's not a need for artificial intelligence sometimes. We've actually had on our site, and I can show you later when I get into it, we've actually had on every single bill information page a button that'll show you similar bills from other states in rank descending order by percentage of similarity, and that's not using AI. And AI could improve upon that. It very well may, but right now we're not relying on it for that. We also have another problem, and this is maybe unique to Massachusetts. Karen is aware of this problem, but we really cannot summarize bills in Massachusetts using AI. I actually have a team of people, lawyers, who do this, and it's particularly painful because we are a high bill volume state. We typically come in number 2 or number 3 every 2-year legislative cycle, to the ridiculous volume of New York. What we're experimenting with actually right now is giving what I'm going to be calling an overview of the bill, as opposed to a summary of it. We're going to highlight the major features in it that are cited, and with a note that'll tell people that a deeper summary will follow. So we're going to start with the overview and get into it. So if in some different states, and if you're a tracking service owner, as I am, you might want to consider that approach if bill summaries are too difficult to do.
Right. So like Mob said, at first swipe, you can at least provide this overview to give people like some context. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this poll, which is actually quite interesting. So here we go. So some of you skittish about getting started with AI. So we'll see if this webinar makes you feel better or worse about that. Most of you, sounds like, are experimenting with it, which is great. Hopefully that's great. And then, yeah, one of you lives and dies by it. So that is pretty interesting. I am finding myself using it more and more, but that's just me. All right. So thank you for taking the poll. Thank you, Michael, for sharing about the overviews and how sometimes just a summary isn't going to do it. But at least you can do something, because man, having to actually summarize the bills with lawyers is painful. So, but you do
anything with lawyers is painful.
Okay, so I am going to go ahead and show a couple tools in BillTrack 50 and talk just a tiny bit about how they work, to kind of give you the feeling for how these things even, when you can trust them, how much you can trust them, what's going on behind the scenes, just to give you a little bit of a feeling for what is going on. And I will try not to use anything about vectors or back propagation. Right. Where did I put my BillTrack 50? Here it is. Okay. So did that come across okay? We're all looking at BillTrack 50 now, I hope?
Yes.
Yep.
Very good. All right. So I've got this bill sheet I set up about deepfakes. And I just did a simple query for deepfakes, right? So I didn't do anything fancy here at all. And if I look at these bills, I can click on one of them and say, hey, you know, this bill looks interesting to me. Okay, so in this summary, we just use the AI to generate it, and we get, you know, this result back. And we are sending the AI the text of the bill, but also explaining to it how we have it formatted, and that we have the insertions a certain way and the deletions a certain way. And we're telling the AI to focus on what is being added and removed from the existing law, so that the AI could understand that it's not the law it's trying to summarize, it's the suggested changes to the law it's trying to summarize. And so that's kind of what we're doing and what you can kind of expect. So that's how we're generating our summaries. And you know, we've had lots of these get looked at this point, and we have this button here to report an issue, and we've had one issue, which was a genuine garbled summary, come back, and we've looked at so many of them ourselves. And so it's really quite surprising how well this works. And it gives pretty good summaries, and it is able to focus in on it's, you know, it's adding landscape architects to what's covered by this law, and not trying to like just summarize the whole law for you, if you know what I mean. So that's summaries. And Michael, I'm sorry that Massachusetts is so difficult, both for you and for me. All right, and then we have added this tool, similar bills. And so Michael Mob was mentioning about how it's kind of nice to be able to look across the board. So what this will do, we'll figure out bills like this year anywhere in the country. And so this is one of the tools we make available for free. So you can use BillTrack 50 for free. And if you're looking at a bill, similar bills will be here, and you'll be able to look across the country. Or if you're subscribed to just one state, you can still use similar bills to see what else is going on across the country. And so what this is doing is we take the bill in our little structured processed way, and we reduce it to a number. And so I am going to say vector. We reduce it to a vector. And then we compare it to all the other vectors, which is all the other bills, and we see which ones are closest in space. So what is the most similar? And it is kind of magical because, yeah, so the first thing it found is this other bill in Arizona, which is really quite similar. And then it found one in Massachusetts, and these other ones that really do look similar to this bill. And so that is just one of the things AI can do. It can detect similarity in semantic content. So not just the words, but the meaning of the words, and decide like where they're similar. And so that is one of the things that AI can do if it's set up properly. And then we also have.
Sorry, Karen, can you explain what happens when a bill changes with the AI summaries? And perhaps mention about different versions and so on.
Sure. So when a bill gets a new version, so on the bill text, we'll have all the different versions that it, you know, as it gets amended and the state puts up a new text, we will actually generate the summary over from scratch and post a new summary here. And so then that will be the new vector. And so the similarity will be up to date with the current version of the bill. So we do refresh those all the time. And I mean, obviously you need to, especially when they like completely gut and change a bill. But yeah, as new things are added, that gets put into the summary and put into the vector.
And with new versions of bills, obviously we don't use the AI to summarize them because we already have excellent tools that can highlight the differences between versions, sort of additions and deletions and so on.
Sure, but that's not AI. Okay, so then on this screen, we've got our list of all the bills that have the word deepfake in it, right? So that's the classic old-fashioned keyword search, right? So then we can say, okay, let's look across and figure out what bills are similar to this. But now, instead of just looking for what's close to that one vector, it tries to figure out what these have in common and figure out what is similar to the commonality here. And the similar bills it's going to give me are bills that are like these, but not already on this list. So now it's going to find bills that it thinks are deepfake bills that don't actually have the word deepfake, because I've already found those. So these are other bills out there. And so I clicked on that and it gave me these results. And it's saying, okay, we've got materially deceptive media. We've got false representations. We've got synthetic media. So like these are other phrases, fabricated media in elections. So these are other ways people are saying deepfake in other states. And it figured that out. So these don't have deepfake, the word deepfake in it, but it still figured out it was the same topic just by the meaning of the words together, which is amazing to me. So that is kind of a little bit like how it all works behind the scenes. And I'm happy to talk in more depth if anyone has more questions. So feel free to chat, Stephen, any questions you have. But then let's take a look at some tools that Michael has in InstaTrac using AI in other ways. So I'm going to stop my sharing and let Michael take over so that he can show us a couple things in InstaTrac.
I am actually a real person, even though you can't tell from my little photo thumbnail. I'm not a deep fake tracking service owner. But let's see.
And I've got yeah, very good.
So can you see this now, my landing page?
Yes, well, but okay. It's very small.
The power, this you see the power to compete on Beacon Hill?
No, we see BuildTrack 50-ish thing on your desktop.
I see.
So maybe you should share your other screen.
I have shared the wrong screen now.
Oh, so embarrassing.
Yeah. Man. Sorry. Let's try again.
Happens to all of us.
Does this work now?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Sorry about that. This is the landing page for InstaTrac.com, in which you can get to the MassTrac Legislative Service. There are several videos on the page. We're going to be talking about transcription, and if you have a chance, these are, if anybody can look at these. The middle one here is a video, professionally made video on how we're doing the transcript work. We've also branched out into the municipal arena, and you can see another video on that. And if you care to learn more about the Legislative Service, here is Happy Mary, who is a subscriber, and Poor Sad Bob, who is not, and yet another video. And if you really have nothing to do with your life, you can watch this other video we just made as we celebrate our 30th anniversary.
Congratulations.
But people come here to sign in, which I'm going to do now. I'm going to log in. I'm going to take us to our dashboard. Is that big enough for everybody to see?
If you can make it bigger, that's fine. But yeah, it is big enough.
How's that?
Oh, very good.
Okay, good. So there's a lot going on our site, but we're really here to talk about the transcript work that we're doing. And this, I believe, is the most significant enhancement to at least a single state legislative tracking service in the last 30 years. We take in Massachusetts every event that occurs at the State House, every legislative committee hearing, we have lots of them, every floor debate, every special commission and task force that has a hearing at the State House, and now state agency regulatory hearings. So we got into the regulatory business now without having to provide actually tracking as we do with the bills. And all that is available right here. You can search across all of them, or you can pick a type of event you want to search. So let me just do the all. Anybody got a word they want me to look for?
Well, steep.
Nobody said solar, so I'll choose
solar. I wish I had solar.
So here is, and you see we bring the video in as well as having the text. And in this the first benefit that I didn't mention is that you get notified if a word was discussed that was important to you based on what you've embedded into your system. So the same place where you embed a term to learn if it appeared in a bill or an amendment would also let you know if it appeared in a transcript. So you can receive a notification that there was an event that you should take a look at, and then you can do a little search, for whatever that was brought up. And in Massachusetts, on what we call Terrible Tuesdays internally, when they schedule 8 to 13 hearings on the same day, plus, a floor debate, that's because they hate us all. If you have to, take the cat to the vet and, whatever, you can't go to all these. It's impossible. So being able to look at them, search through them, or be alerted to anything that happened in them is kind of a big deal. So let me just show you right here on the second event. The hearing ran 1 hour, 31 minutes and 55 seconds. Here is every time your search term appeared in context. And let's say this one is helpful. You can watch what happens when I click on this instance of the term appearing 1 hour, 5 minutes and 14 seconds in. It starts the video right there. Installed on farmland incorporated, which is pretty cool. So I just saved all of our that subscriber 1 hour, 5 minutes and 13 seconds of her life by not having to watch the whole thing to get to this point. But let's say you cannot benefit from the contextual information and there's something in there you can just click on the event itself, which I'm doing right here. And this takes us to a page that has a very interesting type of transcript. And that is, I'll hit the show all button. And that is a clickable version. So you can kind of speed read your way down through it. And let's say you see something really important right here. I'm gonna watch what happens when I click on the word continued or demonstration. It starts the video right there. So we hope this is a continued demonstration. And then we give you a nice, clean, printable version. None of this exists anywhere else, not within the legislature, not within our state capital news service. Nobody has this. It's only available here. You can copy the whole thing. You can copy a paragraph and right click to copy it and dump it into an email, whatever you want to do. So this has proven to be enormously helpful to our users to be able to have
beautiful use of AI.
Yeah.
So useful.
Thank you. So the first is just a little bit of the little geek talk behind it all. Our legislature makes these available within 4 hours generally. We're waiting for them. We're grabbing them. We're running them through our own proprietary software, which has some machine learning as well as some AI built into it. I knew it was going to work when I saw that it figured out how to spell Representative Erica Uterhaven's name properly. I know her and I still can't spell her name. E-U-Y, I don't know. So it works out really, really beautifully. Now Karen's given me just one opportunity to show something else briefly. The head of our state municipal association, the Mass Municipal Association, liked this so much, he called us up and said, there's even a bigger need at the municipal level because municipalities are required in most cases by law to create minutes of their meetings, but there's no transcripts and oftentimes there's no minutes. They're in violation of the law. You can click on a button on many municipal sites that says agendas and minutes and you'll see the agenda, but not the minutes. Not a good thing. So what we've done is we have, for the town of Weston, Massachusetts, what we do is we create websites for the general public to have access to, if that's what the municipality wants, and they all do. And in this case, you see we have select board, the fire station working group, and the community preservation committee. This varies. Usually it's city councils, select board and school committee. The town of Watertown, Massachusetts has 31 municipalities on here. They love this so much. So I'll use the same word. I hope I get a hit here. Solar. You can search again against any one or all of them. And there's something different here you're going to see. And that is, well, this is going to look familiar, right? But watch what happens when I open one of these up. The biggest problem, again, is that there are no minutes generated. So working with a group of programmers from 2 different other countries, we figured out a way to feed the pre-published agenda and feed our transcript into a program so that the summary in effect that comes out, which we're calling minutes, is actually based on what the agenda item is, and not just, based on tokens of any length, regardless of what was being discussed. So we came up with this here, which only admin people see, not the general public, editable minutes. Now this is in effect a summary, but it's based on the agenda, and they can copy this, paste it, edit it, and then post it where they normally post minutes. This has proven to be so popular. And we're just getting going. We just have finally kind of figured it all out. This is relatively new to us. We've got 10 municipalities that work with us as kind of early adopters, and we got it going, and now we're just going to roll this out everywhere we can. So that is it. I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Well, that's a beautiful way for AI to reduce the work of sharing information and therefore increasing transparency, which is super exciting. I mean, all of us are here because we want to try to get this information out to everybody. And so that is such a good, such a good use. So impressive.
And it's very
Hey Michael, I've got a question. Having served on some of those commissions at different times in Virginia, we sometimes have closed door sessions. How easy is that for you all to kind of pull out on the admin side, where you've got a non-public? Well, there's things that we can't discuss publicly at times during those meetings, like potential RFPs, HR issues, different things, and they always happen within the meeting, so it's in the middle of the meeting. Is that easy to pull out, or is do you kind of, is there a like start and stop function?
Well, this really hasn't come up. But the way I think it would work is there would be some statement that we're going to go into recess, and then it would stop there, and then you pick it up when they come back. And
okay,
that's what I'm assuming.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that yet, but
that would be the easy way.
We had code we had to read, in compliance with Virginia section whatever. We're going into recess to discuss. Yeah.
Very good. All right. So, Michael, I'm going to take the screen back and we will continue with the PowerPoint.
Do I have to give it back to you?
I don't know. I might be able to just take it. Let's give it a go. Oh, no. Very good.
I did it. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So we looked at the BuildTrack 50 stuff as some examples. We talked about how you could, using AI, create the transcripts and then make that super useful, but then also using another layer of AI to be able to take the agenda and the transcripts and create minutes out of it, which is such a cool use. So very excited that you showed that to us. So those are some of the things that are possible and a little bit of information about how it's done so that you can take that away and maybe make your own tracking service. Okay, so the other thing that one of the other many things that government professionals will do is advocacy work, right? That's part of what we do. And so AI can also help us there, especially in that it helps us write and helps us hone our message. So you can use it to write all kinds of different communications. So you can write your call to action and then have it make it more compelling. And you can just keep the AI will iterate through for you. Drafting and sending better grassroots messages, helping feed a bunch of different things in and try to connect the dots. And I have been able to feed in several bills and then have it do some summary, some connecting the dots work for me. So there's a lot you can do. Michael, what have you been using it for in your work?
So we're using it for a bunch of things. We're leveraging AI to find better champions, people who are both supporters of the legislation and are passing the bills, We've had, we had a bill in Kansas one time where we had a legislator who was super behind our issue. Um, and she wanted to champion our bill, but the problem, I think her passage rate was, I think, minus 10 or something.
Oh,
She was, it was that bad. I don't think she had ever passed a bill with her name on it as the lead. And so we had to work through and find the right champion and work through and tell her, hey, look, here's the data. It shows if you want this to happen, we can't have your name on it. And you know, fortunately, she was willing to step aside and for the good of the issue, allow us to move forward with some different champions.
impressive on
Um,
her part, but tough, that's tough. But yeah, you got to figure that out because you don't want to accidentally doom your cause, right?
Yeah. No, and I've seen people using it to really start to differentiate those grassroots messages. For the last several years, those e-advocacy tools, while they're important for your constituents, they're not really getting through on Capitol Hill or in state houses. But to be able to better differentiate those messages, leveraging AI and kind of more information from the user, you can put out messages that don't sound like form letters. So when constituent services reads them, they're like, oh wow, this is not the same as the last one that came in. Let's take more of a look at this. And so you know it's hopefully going to allow you to provide better grassroots opportunities out there.
Very good. Also, obviously interested in anything that you guys, our viewers, have tried successfully or unsuccessfully. So please do, again, put stuff in the chat if there's any thoughts you've got. So that's ways that AI is being used right now, and some examples of it, either like live demos or Michael's delightful anecdotes. And so let's look at the future now. Nope, that's the tip of the iceberg. Sorry, guys. I haven't done this presentation very many times. Okay, so I wanted to talk about both of these things, so I'm glad that this slide reminded me. So legislators, as we said, are starting to use AI to draft bills. And so there's one in Massachusetts, of Michael. S31 last year was about regulating AI, and they used AI to help them write it. Maybe a bit of a stunt, but still, it definitely made the news and it definitely got some notice. And then there was a Brazilian bill for a municipal bill in a city in Brazil about water meters, which got written by an AI and got passed. And then the sponsor eventually admitted it had been written by an AI. So it was like debated and passed without anybody knowing that it was AI generated, which is, I don't know, like, I guess you could have thoughts about that. And then I have this little mysterious AI generated candidates question mark. And so I'm going to give that to Stephen to answer.
Well, so this is from the recent election in the UK, which was called quite suddenly. Took a lot of people by surprise. One party in particular was really struggling to source enough candidates to put up in all 650 constituencies, and they wanted to make sure they had a candidate at least everywhere to pick up at least a few votes. So they did manage to find a lot of paper candidates for a lot of them, people who would just put their name on the ballot, but wouldn't actually make any real effort to win the constituency. But following the election, there was a little bit of a scandal where people identified that one of these people didn't seem to exist, and that the picture was suspiciously AI-like. It turned out that the guy did actually exist. He was a bit peeved about being called an AI creation, but it sort of illustrated an issue that we have, actually, a little quirk where you actually need ID to vote in UK elections, but you don't actually need to prove your identity to stand as a candidate in the election. So the press looked into this a lot and didn't actually manage to find any evidence that any of the candidates were AI generated. But But you could certainly see in the future that under these circumstances, parties will be tempted to actually put up candidates that are the perfect candidate, perhaps an amalgamation of various other different candidates. Something to watch out for.
Yeah, yeah, like the ultimate deep fake, really. Um, and his picture was really funny looking, but so
Mm.
why was his picture so AI looking?
Well, he claimed afterwards that he'd been in a bit of a hurry to get his registration in, and he didn't have a very good photograph of himself. So he used some AI tools to actually touch up the photo, put a different background on, that kind of thing, which made it all look a little bit odd.
I see. Okay, so
That
AI
was a
was
good
involved,
tip for all of us.
but it was real. Yeah, okay. And Michael, I think this is your quote. If you aren't using AI 5 times a day, you're falling behind.
Yeah, it's not my quote. A very good friend of mine, entrepreneur and policy expert, Joe Kopser down in Texas. We were talking about AI and policy, and he said, if you're not using AI 5 times a day, you're falling behind. It's moving that fast. You need to at least be equal to where it is, if not, get ahead and try to get to where it's going.
All right. Well, we've offered lots of different ways to incorporate AI into your workflow. Okay, so the future. So where do we think this is all going? Um, Obviously, it would be wonderful if we could really predict if a bill would pass. Um, we can all see the statistics about like if a Republican introduces a bill, it has this, this percentage of them pass and this committee and whatever, but it's the ones that surprise you that are the ones that you'd like to really see coming, right? So I don't know how that could ever work, but that would be amazing. Real analysis of a bill, right? To really understand how this fits into the whole process of like, it's been amended 3 times, and is this taking it a lot further, a little further? Is this fixing an old problem? What is it really going to do? How is it going to impact my business? Like all of the deep detailed analysis that right now AI. So we are currently helping a client, like they have a very specific business. um, they have a very specific business they're in, and they would like to know if bills implicate their business, right? And so we do have it running through and having the AI generate a very detailed look based on their very long prompt. And we're just spinning through all the bills to see like which of them will have an impact on their business, and creating these very detailed analyses based on their specific situation. So that is something you can automate, and that is something that we're doing for clients. Feel free to reach out. But it's still you're not going to take action on that. Like that's just going to help you figure out which ones to then do your own personal actual intelligence deep dive on it, like an actual policy person. So it's not yet good enough to really 100% trust. But it sure is a good first filter, and that has been reliable at that level. And then to help you get that much further ahead before you actually dive into the bill is like to have some idea of what part you need to read and what it's about. Um, I know that Michael was asking, and well, we were chatting about co-pilots, and that is a very popular feature these days, and being able to like chat with your bills. So that would be interesting if you could ask your bill a question. Drafting better bills. So, Michael, this is very easy for me since you're both Michael. Michael, you were mentioning about how, sometimes bills just aren't good, and then they'd have to go back and fix them. So it'd be nice if we could draft a bill that doesn't have internal inconsistencies, that doesn't have vague language, and AI really could probably help with that and vet a lot of that, and give bills like a pass fail grade. So that is something that I would love to see, and I'm sure all of the bar associations would love to see. It's just like better bills. And then big picture, we're supposed to be the states are the laboratories of democracy, so they say. States do try lots of different policies. No minimum wage, the medium minimum wage, quite a high minimum wage. What effects does that have? How is that? What of those was successful? And accounting for the different things that are special about that state. And really like and analyzing all the different things that have been tried and figuring out what's really working, and what part of it is transferable to other areas. like that to me, that's kind of like the AI holy grail in this business, is just making the world better, right? Like coming up with the right answers by being able to process vast amounts of information and bring it all together and really find out what kind of policies are going to help everybody as much as possible. So that's my opinion. Happy to hear your opinion.
Karen, can I
Um,
weigh in on this now a
Yes,
little bit?
please.
When ChatGPT first, went public, I sort of only vaguely, understood what AI meant. I was more familiar with what machine learning meant. So I spent days actually doing Google searches on AI and legislation, and I came upon a paper that was written about a project done in Portugal 20 years ago using AI
Yes.
to predict. This is unbelievable. This was unbelievable to me because I thought this was all like today's thing, not a 20-year-old thing, but it's been around for a while, right? And the point was, the goal of the project was to not just to show to show unintended consequences of legislation, but also what the real impact would be, because in most legislation, people really don't know that. And the answer, and when you ask people, they say, "Well, we'll deal with it, when the problem surfaces." Well, if you can learn up front, what the problems might be, or what the unintended consequences might be, that would be just phenomenal. And I think that would, that's what I'm most excited about in terms of future.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
And we've got what, 20,000 new laws a year, 20,000 bills passed. We have tons of data that we can look at. Like we should have enough to be able to start to get and predict the unintended consequences and mitigate them as best as possible. I love that. Yes, absolutely. Otherwise,
Yeah, I would.
is it time for another poll, Karen?
I was going to do that while we're doing questions, but yes, this seems like a perfectly good time. Thank you, Stephen. He remembers
Poll
that I
guy,
failed to
talk to
launch
me.
them last time
While Michael
because of all
finishes
it
his
was.
point.
Yeah, I would like to echo what Michael said. So many, whether it's staff people or committee people, they do bill analysis all the time. Um, but oftentimes still me as a lobbyist or an advocate are going into an office and know more about the subject than they do by a very wide margin. AI tools and things like better policy analysis can help legislators and staff and committee people get up to speed a lot faster, and kind of help verify that information that I'm bringing in, and kind of helping, hey, this isn't what our research is seeing, or this echoes what our research is seeing, which you know either means either they're going to trust me more or trust me less. But to kind of close that gap between knowledge on the legislator side and the lobbyist side, I think is really going to help make better policy.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, more knowledge is better. All right. So to kind of wrap up with our poll of like where you see it, at least impacting you, is AI going to help you or is AI going to take your job? So that was the poll that we put up. And as Michael was saying, like we all have our own specialized knowledge, right? So there is that. So I'm going to end this poll. And so you're not very worried that AI is going to take your job, but you do think it will change your job. Or you're bailing, which, fair play there.
I don't see the answers. Is that just me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There we go.
You for saying that. I had failed to publish it. Okay, so here we go. So it will change your job almost certainly, unless you just retire and call it a day. So fair enough. But yeah, I mean, there is not just, I know stuff, and I was also implying like people and you have relationships and there's all of that. That's also involved in government affairs and this is a networking business, right? So there's only so far the AI can go. maybe. All right, so that is, I think, our topics. Do you have any questions? Do you have any experiences you want to share or pearls of wisdom? Do you have any fears that you would like us to worry over? Or what are your hopes for where AI is going to go? So we'll let people take a second to put some stuff in the chat if you want to. Would love to hear just your thoughts about, like, generally, do you think that AI is going to be good or bad for us in government affairs? But otherwise, hopefully you found some ideas in here. You found a little bit of this useful. And, if there's anything that we can do for you, either BuildTrack 50 or InstaTrac or Mob, obviously. Happy to help you with any of your own needs.
Martha would like to see transcriptions that go beyond Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Mob would like to see transcriptions that go beyond.
Right? Like, that is so useful. That is so obviously
Yeah.
useful and would just save so much time. So yes, Michael, you're definitely onto something there. It's such a good feature.
Yeah, thank you. Can I just weigh in on this last question?
Absolutely.
My little cautionary note would be, don't try too much at one time, because this is very tricky stuff. It's not as easy as it might seem to be. It's not as easy as some people, you might hear from other people that it is. This takes a lot of work, a lot of quality assurance, a lot of learning first, because we don't come to this just because we might be able to do some good coding in whatever language we code in doesn't mean we're going to know how to do this right. So you can go, you must have listed 30 different things we could do, Karen, in all your slides. Pick one. Just try one and spend a lot of time at it. And you're going to be fine. You're going to get benefit, but if you go too fast, you're going to get a lot of misinformation generated, and you're not going to know it. So go slow.
Absolutely. But there are a lot of tools out there that you can try. So your tools, my tools, ChatGPT itself, like there is stuff you can try. And yes, you never want to go too fast, because otherwise, you cite a court case in your argument and the judge finds you because it was made up, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to, like, you can't just take it and run with it. You're right. Approach it cautiously. And oh my gosh, Stephen and Michael, how many similar bills did we look at before we got anywhere, before they were similar at all, right? Like,
lots.
How many summaries did we read before we were after the summaries? It is, yeah, it is not just a slam dunk. That is absolutely true. So Michael, very, very good point and well taken. All right. So if there aren't any further comments, thank you for coming. And participating and taking our polls and leaving comments. And yeah, good luck. We wish you all well in your AI adventure. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you all.